I'll ask my question in two parts. I'll take your, you brought up the president and the press conferences and certain points where he's been on public platforms and he said certain things. With regards to the apology, do you think that maybe the statements he makes and always falling back on what happened in the past or what may have happened to him and using those references when he gives these press conferences is because as an individual, he is still hurting? So would it not make a difference, perhaps, let's say you are the presidential aspirant for the PF, if you gain that position, would you issue an apology?
Yeah, so, you know, what is imperative is to recognize for, in his case, in the case of His Excellency, the President Hakainde HICHILEMA, is that he's no longer an opposition leader. Usually in opposition you use combative words, you use sometimes denigrating words. When you assume that position, you are head of state. That's why the family is the first family. That's why the privileges we accord them. That's why we even have laws protecting them. So when you rise to such a position, even your conduct must change. Even your discharge, in the conduct of your discharge of duties, you must express that position that I'm now head of state. I'm president, and I'm president for all, for those that voted for me and those that didn't vote for me, for those that like me and those that don't like me. So he is head of state and is a symbol of our nation. So it should start not just with all of us as the opposition, but it should start with the president. And for me, I expressed concern when I noted derogatory terms coming from the president. And colleagues and some people from the church have said the president is showing bitterness. The president should heal.
I go back. He should heal, and there's that comment. But I go back to my question. Let's say you ascend to the position of the president of the PF party. Would you issue an apology on behalf of the party? Do you think that the party should actually be in the position to issue an apology to the Republican president?
On what matters?
On matters that he has raised in certain issues when it comes to press conferences or even just on public platforms, when he talks about the things that perhaps he has gone through when he was in opposition, and he does reference the PF.
Oh, I think I understand it. The Patriotic Front lost an election, and there were various factors why they lost an election. And many of our leaders from the Patriotic Front are on record apologizing for some of the omissions and commissions they could have done while they held office. I was away for 7 years, but I've apologized. I said I'm a leader in the Patriotic Front. By association and by extension, I'm part of the collective. So even things I personally didn't do or wouldn't have done, I've said we apologize because we lost an election. There are things that Zambians rejected, whether our policies, whether our conduct. And President Edgar Lungu, former President Edgar Lungu, was the first one. Remember last year at the commemoration of the anniversary of the late President Michael Sata on the 28th, he came to the people of Zambia and said, I'm sorry if in my discharge of duties I harmed you, I injured you, and maybe we effected wrong policies, or I let certain things go on, while I was president. They went on my watch, even if I didn't do them. He apologized. The acting president, Given Luwinda, has been apologizing on several platforms. Like I said, personally, I've said, look, I believe in relationships. As a political party, we have a relationship with the Zambian people. And now that relationship has broken down. Because remember, we lost an election. So to rebuild that relationship, to restore the confidence we had, we have to accept the mistakes we made. That's what happens in a relationship. So you just don't go forward and pretend that you didn't come late last night and in the morning you are demanding for breakfast. No. She will not make that breakfast. Until then you apologize and said, I'm sorry, last night, okay, I came around 02 with the guys, we were watching football. And so it's a relationship, you need to build it, pay attention to the spoken and the unspoken. So yes, would apologize.
Let's talk about this ego that everybody keeps sharing on different social media platforms. And we recently saw the president posting a certain, tradition sentiments saying, what do you think the president meant by this? Do you think it was directed towards somebody?
So that posting was totally inappropriate. And I've always said, those that manage our pages, in many cases, the profiles of these personalities are not even run by them. It's not the president sitting and tweeting. It's probably maybe Kleso Namasaka or Anton Bwalya. It's administrators. And they should be very sensitive that even when they are sitting to type that, to the listener, viewer, and observer, is that the president is posting. It's the president's posting. So I found that posting inappropriate, and I've always said the administrators of those pages should wear the shoes of the person they posture, they represent. They are like official spokesperson. And so you can't have an official spokesperson that doesn't understand the mind of the person they speak for. Even the tone and language should reflect the person you are representing. So I don't think that that posting was done by the president himself. I think it's administrators of his page, and it backfired because it expresses arrogance. It expresses, and Pungwa, Pungwa is not even a nice bird. Maybe the eagle, Pungwa, the Mwankoles, those are not good birds. They are like vultures. A Pungwa snatches not the hen, not the mother hen, but that little vulnerable chicken. So I don't know what they were trying to communicate, but it backfired. And my appeal again is a use of language in our politics. It should express integrity. It should express who we are as a people. I still do communicate very strongly my views, but without using insults, without using denigrating language. I still can communicate my strongest disgust or strongest position on a matter without the use of certain languages. So for me, I've always encouraged, whether it's from my colleagues, whether it's from the president, I've said, colleagues, there is a way we can dialogue without this heightened political tension. And remember, when you come from an election, it's a period of healing for both sides, the victors and the vanquished. Those that lost elections, we could be hurting. Those that won elections, they also could be taking glory in the win. And sometimes how you celebrate can injure those that you vanquished. All of us are supporters in football, and you know what happens? Sometimes after a team wins, violence erupts, because sometimes even in the manner you are celebrating, even when you are entitled to that celebration. So I call for order. I think let's respect our audience and let us communicate the issues. There are bigger issues affecting our country, issues of the economy. The economy is on its knees. The cost of living is so high. There are no jobs. Our people are struggling every day. You don't even know if they ate yesterday. Their children are going to school without even support or anything. And they don't even know how they'll pick that child from school. There are issues grappling this country. But we are preoccupied in Pungwa debates.
Well, we'll talk about the economy in a little bit. I would like to pick your brains on that. But let's still focus on the use of language and also how the UPND are conducting themselves after, becoming victorious from the 2021 general elections. I would like to take this conversation towards Mr. Nakachinda. We saw how the youth conducted themselves, the UPND youth, that is, conducted themselves when Mr. Nakachinda was at court. And this is body language that is being displayed that should not even be done or should not even be considered. Do you think that the leadership of the UPND party is failing to control the conduct of its members?
So I've called for an apology by the president. The conduct of those party cadres at the Lusaka Magistrate Complex is unacceptable. They stormed a court, an active court, sat in court, and they were even calling out. And even outside the premises of the court, they were looking for Honorable Raphael Nakachinda, for Bowman Lusambo, and for others, calling them out and threatening even to kill them and burn them. We need as leaders to apologize for those things so that we send a strong message that there is no place for hooliganism in our politics. So I'm rather surprised that the UPND, the Lusaka province structure, the national structure, then including the president, are quiet on this matter. This was an assault on the judiciary. And to begin to demand that because you've lost a case in court, therefore the judiciary needs cleansing or the judiciary is PF, is totally unacceptable. Is everyone PF in this country? I've always said, how did these institutions that are being accused of being PF, how did they deliver an opposition win? Why did President Hakainde Hichilema win? And an electoral commission board, all of them appointed by President Edgar Lungu, all of them, some even personal to President Edgar Lungu. How did they give a win to President Hakainde Hichilema? So sometimes we disrespect these institutions. Our people are very professional. I have been in the civil service for the last 20 years, and I understand in many times civil servants and heads refusing to do what is wrong, refusing to participate in illegalities. So sometimes we insult our civil service rather we become unfair on them. I just heard a statement yesterday by Sesheke MP Romeo Kangombe, and he said 98% of civil servants are PF. Totally unfortunate. And like I said, how could the 98% civil service deliver a win for the president? Because they could have sabotaged and ensured that their party won. Let us stop these insults. Many of those are professionals. They've been there far longer than the PFF has existed. And like I'm saying, they are totally professional. They are public service workers. They want to help the president achieve his goals. It doesn't matter. They've seen them come. Kaunda leave office, Dr. Chiluba comes in, Levi Mwanawasa comes in, Rupia Banda comes in, Michael Sata comes in, Edgar Lungu. Now there's President Hakainde Hichilema. And the duty of the civil service is just to deliver on the mandate of the president and to cooperate. I've never seen a civil servant that sits and decides to sabotage government. I've never seen that. Because you can crack the whip and they'll lose a job. It's their families at stake. And many of them, like I'm saying, are professionals. So there are these sweeping statements we allow, like where Romeo Kangombe says 98% of civil servants are PF. Totally unacceptable. In fact, many people even that voted for the UPND may not even be partisan. That's how it works in this country.